Stop to this because you're allowing him to put the guy on trial. These two guys are on trial here. What's wrong with you to allow this to happen? You're putting him on trial. This is not allowed.
I said that we do a motion.
Who might be the sensitive member of the public? Can I say?
I am not sensitive. I am
That's what you're saying. You point at me.
I am counting
On the question.
Let him speak.
Right.
Okay, so, Vice Mayor, can you repeat the motion, please?
For the sole purpose, like I said, this is to be kind of embarrassing at this point now, but just to get through today, and if there is a current policy, city attorney, why isn't it being followed? But for the purpose of today, you're suggesting that we make a motion for today, is that correct?
Yeah, we had a motion.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
I just want to make sure that that's what you're saying.
You know what? For us to take no action on this item, okay? It's shameful that we have a vote and allow them.
Why do you have to make a substitute motion to no action now?
No action, and then it's your turn to speak, Mr. Dow. I no action to the item.
You know what, I withdraw my motion, Mr. Dow. I'll just please ask you, you can, like I said earlier, I understand your situation because that's my situation. So please, if you can speak English, if you can express yourself better in Vietnamese, please do so. And we have an English translator here for that.
Yes, I agree.
That's the way it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. And I assure you, I didn't go over my 5 minute limit. I wouldn't need to. I don't want to. Please. Yes. Ok, so lần trước khi mà tôi phát biểu thì có thể một số người nghĩ rằng là tôi bịa đặt câu chuyện để mà bôi nhọ thị trường trí tài.
The last time I spoke, a lot of people might have thought that I made things up or to smear ngTha.
Tại vì họ nghĩ tôi có thù hận cá nhân hay là cái vấn đề chính trị gì đó mà không có lợi cho thị trường trí tài.
That might have came about because they might have thought that I have some personal vendetta against ngTha, and I was trying to do something to harm him politically.
Khi tôi lên án ông ta đã sử dụng côn đồ để khủng bố và đàn áp những tiếng nói đối lập.
So when I spoke up to denounce him for using thugs to suppress the voice or opposing viewpoint or dissenting voice,
trong đó có cá nhân tôi đã từng bị băng nhóm của ông hành hung.
And that included myself, who has been assaulted by his group of people.
Trong lúc mà tôi bị hành hung thì ông nghị viên ông nghị viên Charlie Nguyễn Mạnh Trí và thị trưởng Trí Tạ đã hiện diện ở đó.
Mayor Ta and City Council member Charlie Chi Nguyen were there when I was being assaulted.
Mà họ không hề có một động thái gì để giải tán đám đông hung hãn hoặc là để bảo vệ tôi.
And they did nothing to disperse that crowd to protect me.
Nếu cần tôi có thể cung cấp cái video clip đó cho.
I can provide that video clip if necessary.
Kính thưa đồng hương, nhưng mà hôm nay tôi có thể khẳng định là những gì tôi nói về thị trưởng Trí Tạ là sự thật hoàn toàn 100%.
To my people, I can guarantee you, I can guarantee and prove to you that whatever I said here today, I can prove it with evidence by 100%.
Chúng tôi đã in cái bài phát biểu của tôi 50.000 số vào thứ Sáu.
I had printed my speech to the city council, and I printed 50,000 copies.
Và hôm sau vào thứ Bảy và lúc 10 giờ đêm tôi đã nhận được một cú điện thoại.
And so the day after, that Saturday evening, I received a phone call.
Và cái người đó nói rằng là tự xưng là Huỳnh Kiệt, hỏi tôi có phải Khải Đào không, cho ông ta địa chỉ.
So that person introduced himself as Kiệt Huynh, and he asked me to give him my address.
Anh ta nói anh ta sẽ tìm đến tôi, một là tôi chết, hai là anh ta chết.
He said he would look for me, and it's going to be, well, either I would die or he would die.
Anh ta gọi tôi là cộng sản vì đã dám yêu cầu thị trưởng Chí Tạ từ chức.
He called me a communist for asking Mayor Tar to resign.
Sau khi cúp điện thoại, nửa tiếng sau tôi lại thấy một cái text message khác.
So after I hung up that call, half an hour later, I received another text messages,
Trong cái text nó ghi như sau:
and that text read as follows.
Xin lỗi anh Chí,
I apologize to TI.
actually that's the name of nghị viên Charlie Nguyễn Minh Chí.
So actually, that's the name of the council member, Charlie Ching-Win.
Đây là Kiệt ở Đài Anh Chánh.
This is Kit, K-E-T, from Mr. Jan, C-H-A-N-H channel.
Nửa tiếng vừa qua, một bọn bỏ báo đánh anh Tạ Đức Chí và nhóm anh Chí.
So half an hour earlier, a group of people distributing or delivering the newspaper had attacked,
Beaten up
have beaten up
Tạ Đức Chí
Trita
và nhóm anh Chí.
and the people in his group.
Tôi hơi ngạc nhiên vì không hiểu chuyện gì.
I was surprised because I did not know what was going on.
Tôi cũng lo cho thị trưởng Tạ Đức Chí khi hay tin ông ta bị đánh.
And I was concerned for Mayor Tar when I heard that he was beaten up.
Sau khi xác minh thì chúng tôi khẳng định đây là fake news.
And so after verifying that, we determined that was fake news.
Mà xem lại kỹ thì đây là số phone đã gọi lại cho tôi trước đó, tự xưng là Huỳnh Kiệt, đe dọa tìm đến nhà để giết tôi.
So when I double checked that phone number, that was a SAM phone number of that person who had introduced himself as Kiệt Win, who had said that he would come and look for me to kill me.
Ngày hôm sau tôi không dám đi ra ngoài để bỏ báo, cho đến chiều mới dám lái xe đến box cảnh sát Westminster để báo cảnh sát.
So the next day I was so scared I did not go out and deliver the newspaper. I had to wait until late in the afternoon to drive to the police station to make a report.
Yeah.
The Westminster police station to make a report.
Chủ nhật, cảnh sát Westminster không mở cửa và họ bảo tôi liên lạc với cảnh sát nơi thành phố tôi đang cư ngụ.
So it was a Sunday, and so the police station was closed, and they told me that I need to contact my local police station to file that report.
Và tôi đã báo cáo với cảnh sát nơi tôi ở, hy vọng họ sẽ liên lạc với cảnh sát Westminster để điều tra làm rõ sự việc.
And I had reported that to the police where I resigned, and hopefully they would contact the Westminster Police Department to investigate this matter.
Sau khi suy nghĩ kỹ, tôi đã hiểu rõ vấn đề và lại càng lo sợ cho an toàn tính mạng.
After thinking all of this over, I came to understand what this matter is, and so I became more concerned for my life.
Mà không những chỉ cho riêng cá nhân tôi mà còn tính mạng của những cộng tác viên sẽ phải cùng tôi phát hành 50.000 số báo này trong thời gian tới.
And that is not only for myself, but also for the people who helped me, who were associated with me to distribute the next publication of 50,000 issues of this newspaper.
Vì không thể phản bác lại những luận điểm và chứng cứ do tôi đưa ra. Vì không thể phản bác những luận điểm và chứng cứ do tôi đưa ra khi yêu cầu Chí Tạ từ chức.
Due to the fact that he cannot defend against
My argument.
The argument that I presented, so now.
Cũng như là không thể đóng đài chúng tôi như đã từng làm trước đây.
So now he's doing this just like because he could not shut down my newspaper like he had done to my channel
radio station
previously.
Và tay chân bộ hạ của Chí Tạ đã tung tin đồn những người bỏ báo, tức là chúng tôi, đã đánh thị trưởng Chí Tạ.
And so, Trita/Key had accused me,
Không tung cái tin đồn,
have
spread the rumors.
spread the rumor that the people who deliver the newspaper attacked or assaulted ngTha.
Đây là chiêu trò họ bịa đặt ra để tạo cớ kích động những fan cuồng tấn công chúng tôi.
This is their trick to raise up the people who supported them, so that the people who supported them would attack me.
Để trả thù cho trí tà của họ, cũng như để biện hộ cho những hành vi khủng bố bạo lực đối với chúng tôi sau này.
To retaliate against me for Trita, and also to terrorize and to silence me, so that I would not speak in the future or speak up in the future.
Tại sao Huỳnh Kiệt lại xin lỗi anh Chí? Tôi nghĩ Huỳnh Kiệt có liên quan đến nghị viên Charlie Nguyễn Mạnh Chí.
Why did Kiệt Nguyen apologize to Chi? I think Kiệt Nguyen is associated with Charlie Chi Nguyen.
Hy vọng sau này cảnh sát sẽ chứng minh là tôi nghi oan cho nghị viên Charlie Nguyễn Mạnh Chí.
I hope that the police would come to determine later on that I was fault in accusing Charlie Chi Nguyen.
Lần trước, cách đây lâu, Hội đồng thành phố đã lên án fake news.
Previously, not too long ago, the city council had denounced, have a resolution denouncing fake news.
Hai ông đã bỏ phiếu trắng.
The two of you have cast an absent ballot.
Tôi đang chờ xem hai ông sẽ ứng xử ra sao đối với những hành động côn đồ và phi dân chủ này khi mà họ đe dọa giết tôi.
The two of you have abstained, so now I'm going to wait and see what you are going to do with these undemocratic acts when these people threaten to kill me.
Yes. Nếu hai ông là trong sạch, không có liên quan gì đến băng đảng này,
If you are totally clean, if both of you are totally clean and you had nothing to do with these thugs,
thì hai ông phải công khai mạnh mẽ lên án những hành vi côn đồ của cái đám mà khủng bố, đe dọa giết những người đưa báo cũng như là đối lập như chúng tôi.
so the two of you need to speak up and denounce the people who threaten and terrorize the people who deliver the newspaper, like myself.
Nếu mà hai ông không có dung túng, không có ủng hộ những cái hành động, những cái lối hành xử mọi rợ côn đồ này, thì hai ông phải công khai lên án họ và phải có thái độ thích đáng.
So if you two do not condone these barbaric acts, then you two need to speak up and condemn these the act appropriately.
Và rõ ràng qua cái hành vi mà cấm không cho tôi trình bày là một lần nữa chứng minh là ông là luôn luôn tìm cách bịt miệng những người như tôi.
And so you can see through it, from the fact that you're trying to silence me, it shows that you're trying to suppress or silence my voice.
Tức là tìm cách không cho mình nói người này.
By trying to not allow me to speak earlier.
Dạ vâng, xin cảm ơn quý vị đã lắng nghe. Khải phải nói tiếng Việt để mặc dù trình bày với Hội đồng thành phố, nhưng mà Khải nói tiếng Việt thì Khải nói được rõ ràng hơn. Xin cảm ơn quý vị đã lắng
And
nghe.
so on that, thanks for listening to me, for allowing me to speak in Vietnamese, because so that you can understand me, and also that I can express myself better.
Và Khải cũng xin thành thật xin lỗi tất cả những cư dân không nói tiếng Việt. Xin cảm ơn.
And again, I apologize to all the
Is Kai Dao, please come forward.
And I need an interpreter, translator. Good evening, everyone. I was gonna wear a suit, but
I asked our city attorney, because Mr. Dao speak English fluently, So
I don't have enough English to
so I mean like, see the attorney, so I mean like, how come he speak like English and Vietnamese?
need to speak to the Vietnamese people.
Yeah, the general rules that you have the 5 minutes, and you can use that time to speak in English or.
I cannot express in English what I'm going to say.
Yeah, if you can speak in English, you should speak
I
in
can
English.
speak like regular stuff, but I cannot express myself.
The purpose is for translation for people who
I
can't.
wrote 5 pages in, try to tell the Vietnamese people.
I think you understand English, you can speak in English.
It happened before, so I mean, there's certainly we have a change in
Why do some people have
policies.
the right to speak
Well, the purpose is to allow people who cannot speak in English to communicate to the council and to the public through that, and to make sure that they're being
my English
heard.
is not enough. I can only speak plain English. That's why
If I
wrote it.
remember correctly, you probably ran for a city council 3 times already, and you tell me that you don't have,
That
you
doesn't
don't have.
mean that my English is enough.
And then the second thing that I wanted to let you know that you addressed to the council, not for the people.
So I
The
use the
people
press
can
to time
speak
my
for
mic free.
themselves. If they want to speak to council, they can come to the meeting and talk for themselves. But for you, you can represent yourself only.
Oh, communication, right? Are you
Here,
trying to
yes.
suppress my right to speak?
I'm not saying that.
Like I
You
said,
know,
I
Councilmember?
don't have enough vocabulary to speak in English.
Yeah.
You want me to take me to court for that?
Yeah.
Want to make that decision?
Sir, you clearly can speak in English. I think
Yes,
you
like I
should.
can argue in plain
You have,
English.
it's the same right that any other person has. There's only, a translation is only needed when you cannot speak. So I would say, my feeling is that you should be allowed 5 minutes to speak.
I still gonna
You know-
speak in Vietnamese.
You know,
No, translate, it's
Mr.
your
Kaidao,
decision.
just a second, sir, just a second, to be patient. You know, I don't understand why we have to inhibits upon his right to speak, address the city council. You know, it's a job to be quiet and listen. And it's not his first rodeo. It's been here before. Okay, just so is, and you know, all the people come forward and making public comments, and we have to respect their right to come and speak. So I don't understand why we are changing the policy today comparing to the last meeting and meeting before that. You know what, whatever it is,
I think
it's
it's
the
for the
policy.
council.
We have to uniform it across the board. We cannot just make up the rules right in the middle of the
Yes,
mixed stream.
I
So
agree. We should be consistent.
I agree with that, and I'd like to say that, we've always given the people the right to choose if they want to speak in Vietnamese or in English, and we've never had to put them through a test. If you want to start testing people before they are allowed to ask for Vietnamese translation, then, you got to be uniform and you got to do that and come up with a test and do so. But right now, I don't see anybody has ever been contested, or you've never denied anybody. I've seen that 4 years ago when they came up to attack me, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and they come up and I've heard them speak English before they chose to flip. We never question as a council. So I think Mr. Dow needs to be able to choose what he wants to say, what language he wants to speak today. If he speaks in English, we need to translate it.
Can I have a
It's the official language of this council, English.
City Attorney, thank you, Councilmember Ho. Yes, I've always thought that we haven't been doing it right for a while. Okay, and the whole purpose of the public speakers is for to address the council, not to address the public. It hasn't been done right for a while. And I agree. I mean, we need to get it right. We need to come up with the policy and stick to it and make sure we're doing it correctly. I don't know if right in the middle of this is the time. I would suggest for today that Mr. Dow choose one language and stick to it. Don't come here. At the last meeting, Mr. Dow spoke in English and then he translated it in Vietnamese, and I thought it was wrong, and I don't understand why it keeps happening. We need to get it right. There is a policy and a procedure. We need to stick with it. So at this point, I would say for the day, pick a language, stay with it, and going forward, we need to get it right. We can't keep doing this.
May I ask, City Attorney? I believe that for the public speaking, they can talk directly to the council, but not represent people and, and then talk on behalf of the people. You can talk to the council on your ideas or whatever opinions that you have in mind, but you can't say that people are doing this, people are thinking about this, people. You can't represent them. You represent yourself, yes.
I think since it's not an agendized item, but we have to make a decision on this, I think the question is, we need to agendize this and make a decision. So there's a majority decision that this is how we're going to handle it going forward. What we cannot do is try and call into question whether someone can speak or not. Clearly, the reason I raised it was because clearly he can speak English. Because he's spoken many times. But I think we need to be consistent with what we've done up until this date. It sounds as though we've had a policy to allow it. And I almost feel like, or Christine, do you want to add to that?
So back in 2019, and this is pretty much the last time that we were in person, there was discussion among the council as far as what the what the rules of translation were. So it was made clear that the whole point of oral communications in terms of the Brown Act, and I'm just going to put my clerk hat on at this point, is you are coming up to address the council. So if you are able to communicate to the council in English so that the council understands, that is the point of the Brown Act. And that is and that is the point. It's not to address people who may not understand at home. So we did have this discussion once upon a time in 2019. Now, it was harder to, in some ways, play games with translation or interpretation when we went virtual. So this was not a problem when we were virtual. But now that we are back in person, this is going to be an issue that will be raised again. So yes, we have not been doing it consistently in the correct way for a while when we were back in person prior to the pandemic. But now that we are back in person, it may be a good time to just remind that the whole point of oral communications is to address the city council with concerns that are within the subject matter jurisdiction.
And I remember this discussion back in 2019 when I tried to push to have the city clerk to have a policy on public comments, and we agreed that we had a super majority of the Vietnamese American elected official in this council understand English, so be able and since I got elected, we have the translator to come here so that the people who unable to speak English could come here and voice their concern. So there's no reason, if this council decide to change the policy, we should have an agenda item and address this issue, and we should not inhibit and stop a citizen to come here and address us. This is your time to listen. Like I've been listening for so many hours in the past, and I'm sure those who've been here aware of that, remember that. I have my fair share, and what do? I just listen. Okay, so it's your turn as elected official, as a leader.
Let me suggest something.
Allow the public to speak, please.
No,
Mayor,
no. I like to have an input.
I want to add this item to the agenda, if we could, for the sole purpose of deciding how this issue will be handled tonight only, because we're talking too much about this. We can then vote on it tonight. We can get 3 people to say, let him speak or be limited to 5 minutes. Can I have a motion to do that? This is an issue. I want to make sure
I have a question before we
it.
actually doing that. I agree to what you proposed.
All right, so we have the motion and not second.
But the question is, like last time, he can represent himself and talk to the council, but he can't.
Well, you know what? You should not criticize the member of the public trying to address the city council at this moment.
The city.
It's not on the agenda and should not.
All right, so now we have the motion and second to
Allow
walk
people to
this
speak.
item on agenda. Okay, we have a motion and Second.
Any clarification as to who made the motion, please?
Thing like Councilmember
Councilmember
because we
Doe,
can-
seconded by Monzo, I believe.
Is that correct?
This is to
Yes.
walk it
Thank
on.
you.
It's a
Right.
last minute item and I think it's important we deal with
All
it
right.
tonight.
Okay, so there's a motion by Councilmember Doe, seconded by Vice Mayor Monzo to add this
Yes.
item on the
Agenda, yes.
agenda. Councilmember Doe,
Yes.
Councilmember Ho,
This is just to
Yes.
walk the item
add
on.
this item on the
Yes.
agenda. Thank you. Councilmember Nguyen,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Monzo,
Yes.
Mayor Tong.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
So, all right, so now we have the item on agenda. Am I correct?
Yes.
Correct, Mayor.
Let's not forget that we need to let the public
Right,
address,
no,
address
no.
this issue.
Of course,
before you vote on it.
we all welcome comment from any member in the public. So every member in the public have 5 minutes. And your English is good. We all understand your English. That's why, we asking you, you speak to us in English. So we provide a translator for the Vietnamese who cannot speak English. So all of us can understand. But I mean, if you speak 5 minutes in English and you speak another 5 minutes in Vietnamese, and I think and then you ask the translator to translate that into English from your Vietnamese to English, to end up to be like 15 minutes.
Sir, do you
Wait,
represent
just a second,
yourself
just a
in
second,
court?
sir, just a second. Okay, that is, the clock keeper is a job of the city clerk. So we already discussed this in the past, that, we all understand, that a lot of Vietnamese American members of the public, they can speak English, but they can express more in their own mother tongue. So, and 4 of us can understand Vietnamese, and there's no reason why we should, not allow him to do that. The clock keeper is a job of the city clerk, and we talked about in the past that he have 5 minutes to speak in his mother tongue and about 5 minutes for the translator to translate. Okay? Can we allow the public comment to go forward now? Thank you.
Well, here's the thing, which I don't believe is correct, that if he spoke, I agree with what the mayor just said, is that I thought it was wrong last time and I should have spoke up. You cannot speak 5 minutes in English and then, just like the mayor described, that it doesn't seem right to me. Is right now, I would suggest that if you want to just, if you have better, express yourself better in your native language, do that only. And then we can have a translator.
Okay,
But you cannot speak English for 5 minutes and then another 5 minutes in Vietnamese and then have that translated. You cannot do that. I don't believe that that is right.
Was
No,
that
he's
true? I mean, the
translating
city
now.
clerk, you were the timekeeper, right? Did Mr. Dow went through over the 5 minutes?
So currently, when the speaker comes up, in whatever language they're speaking, we allow the clock to run.
Okay,
When the interpreter speaks, then we pause the speaker's time and allow the interpreter. We don't time the interpreter. We only time the speaker that comes up.
so he never crossed the 5 minute mark. Is that correct?
That's correct, because we stop
Thank you.
it when they're interpreting.
No, I
Thank
think
you.
I believe it was over. I mean, it sure seemed like it.
Well, none of us keeping time.
Oh,
We're
okay.
asking the
That's
city
your
clerk,
job.
so.
Okay, well, going forward, I suggest that if the speaker finds it easier to express themselves in whatever language you express yourself better, I suggest that would be the one. If it's Vietnamese, then be Vietnamese only. And we have a translator that can translate so council can understand.
Mayor, I think you should let members of the public come up and address this issue. They're entitled to an opportunity to
Right,
speak.
of course.
I think it'd be good to do that first.
Right, of
Right.
course.
If
Yes.
anybody wants to come up and speak only to this item, you will still get a chance to speak to general comments afterwards.
Yes, okay.
I speak first since I'm here already. Well, I just want to explain to Vice Mayor Menzel, like I said, I don't have an accent. Doesn't mean I can make a case, make an argument in English. That's why you have.
No, I have a
right?
personal thing with this because I have a difficult time expressing myself
I
in
want to make a
Spanish.
case here. That's
So
why
it's easier for me.
wrote it in
than-
Vietnamese, and I'd
Yes,
like him to translate it into English.
perfect. That's what I agree with that. I have a difficult time expressing myself in Spanish, so I understand what he's talking about. So that's perfectly fine.
Anyone else from the public on this issue only?
Please come forward.
Please come forward.
Okay, Roger Mindrum, resident of Westminster. I've actually thought about this quite a bit. And I've come to two conclusions right now in the last 10 minutes doing this. I understand Mr. Dow's point. I kind of like to come up here and let other people on that are watching at home hear me instead of speaking directly to you too. But if you're gonna narrow things down to a policy, I think he should come up here and speak for 2.5 minutes in English and 2.5 minutes in Vietnamese, or full Vietnamese, and he can get a translator. Because it's happened before where somebody, I know, I've seen them speak English, but like Carlos is saying, they feel more comfortable, and that's totally understandable too. So if you're gonna narrow it down to policy, play the game. It's his free speech. You can't, like Ms. Ho said, you can't abridge his speech if he chooses to come up here and speak Vietnamese, even though you know he can speak English. Your government, you can't abridge his free speech. So to Mr. Dow, I would say, I would recommend to Mr. Dow, 2.5 minutes in English, 2.5 minutes in Vietnamese, or come up here and do full Vietnamese and get your translator, because they can't tell you that you can't speak Vietnamese because they know you can speak English. That's free speech. Thank you.
Or anyone else? The person in the
Please.
back? Oh, okay.
First of all, I'm Conrad Gomez again. First of all, I'm kind of confused right now. And what the confusion is, I thought the Brown Act said specifically English, and all of you have taken the Brown Act. So it's pretty clear. Now, what you're going to cause, not just here at the city council meeting, let's say the Quang Tri Committee. So now we can let the Vietnamese all speak Vietnamese when they want to. And I don't know Vietnamese. Okay, all I know is English. You're gonna kind of allow other committees to follow into this issue. I would suggest to you to follow the Brown Act. That's just the way it is. No 2.5 minutes here, no 2.5 minutes there. I do not want to stop that gentleman from speaking, but if he can speak English, that's fine. And that's the way it is. I had to learn how to speak English, and I had to drop my native language of Spanish. It was that clear to make it in the USA. And that's how I progressed. English only. And accordingly, it's the Brown Act that's telling you that. If you want to override the Brown Act, then say, why are we taking these tests? Tell me, why are we taking these tests that take 3 and 4 hours? Stick to what the law says or the act says. Follow the Brown Act. That's what you were instructed to do, and that's what you instructed me to do, being on the Quang Tri Committee. Thank you.
Hi, Terry Raines with a bad voice, sorry. Christian, I have a question. You walked on an item, it's not an urgency item. Yes, you're giving the public a retro ability to speak on it, but I question the need for an urgency item or a walk-on of this item. It needs research by staff. It needs research by our city manager. And I don't think it's on the fly, an item that should be on the agenda tonight. So as far as I'm concerned, we have been so inconsistent, and I have to speak to our city attorney about that, because it is your job to make sure that this council stays on track with the law. And it is true, as the city manager said, the purpose of speaking up here is just to address the city council. It's not for the benefit of the audience. And sometimes we all forget that because we want our residents to know what's going on. And half of our residents are Vietnamese. So I would love the opportunity to give my speech in English and have somebody translate it into Vietnamese for the audience, but I know that's not the law and that's not permissible under the law. But I think our city attorney and our city manager need to come back with this item, not tonight. Let Mr. Dow do whatever he wants to do tonight, because it is not an urgency item and it needs some research on the law. And I think we need to be consistent and have a written policy. And this on the fly discussion is not appropriate tonight. Thank you.
You may.
Let me just briefly respond to that. The reason I wanted to walk it on was I could see that he has rights to speak, and I didn't want to come up and make a quick decision on this. And the sole purpose of this item is to decide what we're doing tonight. The intent would be to come back, as you mentioned, and research it with a policy. But I want to make sure not to just cut him off without us coming to a decision as to how we're properly going to handle his speech tonight, and or anybody else who has the same situation tonight. That's the sole purpose of this discussion.
I'd like to ask the city attorney, is that is common practice now that we respond to every single public comment? Is that the direction of the council are going right now? We're gonna respond to every criticism that come from the member of the public when they address the city council during the public comments?
No, there's no official policy on that.
Okay, thank you. So, I mean, we need to allow a member of the public to speak and address the council without interruption, please. Thank you.
Evening, everybody. Devorah Mariscal, Westminster. Time cannot be replaced. So what have we spent 20 minutes on this already? What do we do when we have 50 or 75 or 100 people here that may or may not speak English? I agree. We need to make a decision and stick to it. Thank you.
Please come forward.
My concern with this is, Christian, on numerous occasions, you've come up with different rules and regulations as to how it's going to go. And you've oftentimes allowed the mayor to run rogue with no sort of guidance from you. And that is your job. It is his job to run the meeting. He doesn't do it well, but it is his job to do it. But it's your job to keep him in line. And right now, what it appears is because the mayor seems to know that he can speak English, he's requiring a litmus test, which we all know is illegal. So if that's going to be the new standard, then we should probably address that. Because if he came up here and just spoke in his native tongue, he deserves a translator. Now, because to do anything else, where do you stop and where do you draw the line when you start violating rights? So that's the issue. I also agree with Ms. Rains. This isn't an item for tonight, and Mayor, it was wrong of you to interrupt him. This should have been agendized for a different meeting.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item at this time? Mayor, let me check. Give me a minute to check our Zoom speakers as well. There is one person wishing to speak on Zoom, Amy Walsh. You may begin.
Hi. Hi. I had raised my hand and lowered my hand to try to get your attention that I wanted to speak, but then everybody said what I was going to. So I am in agreement with both Kabila and Terry on this issue. I mean, to me, it's clear. Just from, I'm not even there in the room, but it's clear to me that the mayor does not want this gentleman to be able to speak what he's going to speak tonight in Vietnamese. To me, that's clear. Why tonight specifically when he's done this many times in the past? It's beyond me. So if you're gonna do this, then I agree with what people have already said. But I definitely think that doing it in the middle of public comments just shows the lack of respect for everyone in that meeting. And it just sickens me. I'm sorry. That's all.
There's no one else on Zoom wishing to speak. That concludes the oral communication for this item, Mayor.
I think there is a misunderstanding. I welcome anyone to come here to speak any of their native language. But I mean, like, it's really surprising when someone could speak English and they use 5 minutes in English and then they switch into 5 minutes in Vietnamese. And it happened before. That's all I asked for. Mr. Dow more than welcome to speak 5 minutes in Vietnamese and someone go to translate into English. But the issue I saw before, some of the members came here to speak perfectly in English and switch into Vietnamese and asked our translator to translate into Vietnamese, so they add more time. That is my point. So anyone more than welcome to speak in any of their native languages. And we're going to provide a translator. That is my point. But because of the time, but you cannot come here to speak like, because you know the loophole of the system. You speak 5 minutes in English and you switch into 5 minutes of Vietnamese and you request someone to translate into another additional 5 minutes. That's all I asked for.
Well, may I speak? Okay, I'm really kind of disturbed because, you know, as you stated, it's like people have, but then if you are speaking about what other people have done, why didn't you agendize it to talk about it properly and do so properly? But I think it is your intention, and everybody could see through that, is your intention is to suppress Mr. Dow's speech. Well, I don't know what he's speaking about or he intend to speak about, but I do know that you intend to suppress his speech. And so I've never, ever seen anything like this until tonight. We've never stopped anybody in the middle of their speech, or, you know, they're already at the podium, and he's done this and other people have done it, as you stated, as you mentioned, that other people have done it. But why did you have to stop Mr. Dow? That's very disrespectful to him and to the whole audience. So I do agree with that. And I think that's really disturbing. And especially, you know, the mayor who's supposed to be running the meeting. So I think without further ado, we need to have Mr. Dow at the podium and start speaking. I don't think it's right for him to be stopped and then we have to hold a hearing all about him speaking. And then now he's sitting down, and you know, when people come up to speak, they have to gather their thoughts. So there's no respect for him, and a lot of disrespect for him as well as the audience. So I just really think this is like, you know, never seen this before. So I feel that he's being targeted. I don't need to say that. I think everybody else knows that. And I'm glad everybody spoke. And I think quite a few people have shared, you know, the same thought. And I thank you for that. But I think we need to move along with Mr. Dow being at the podium now and allow him to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I do agree that this has gotten out of hand and this is not the proper way of doing this. But I also understand the city attorney's, what he was trying to do. Again, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. I've always thought it was wrong that, you know, the whole point, and to speak to one of the speakers as well, said that, you know, our meetings are supposed to be ran in English. That's the Brown Act. You know, it's not meant to be, we need to conduct this meeting in English. The whole point and the purpose of translation is for the speakers to address the council. If the speaker does not speak English, he will need a translator. And Mr. Dow's situation, and along with my situation, even though I speak fluent Spanish, I do not express myself as very well in Spanish. But I think going forward for tonight, I would ask Mr. Dow if he feels more comfortable in Vietnamese, speak Vietnamese only, and we have a translator for that purpose. And we do need to agendize this thing and get down exactly what we need to do going forward and set a policy for this. Because we can't keep going, just winging it and doing things. For every situation is a different thing. So
I'd like to say one more thing, just one
So
more
what, do
thing.
we need to make a motion on this, city attorney?
Yeah,
If I
I
may,
would say for the purposes of handling anybody in the same situation tonight only, yes, have a motion to say we should handle it this way. I think the suggestion that was made, I forget the gentleman, but either speak in the other language and have it translated.
Yeah.
We're not obligated to provide a translator, but we do.
We do.
So if he wants to speak in Vietnamese, he can do that and that can be translated, and or he could speak 2.5 minutes in English, 2.5 in Vietnamese. I think that's a great suggestion.
Well,
And it does protect.
I
And I-
think
and
for the
I-
purpose of tonight, I'll make a motion for Mr. Dow to either speak full Vietnamese and have it translated, or use this 5 minutes, having it 2.5 in English and 2.5 in Vietnamese. That's my motion.
You know what, it's really shameful for the city council to vote and to allow a member of the public to speak. I mean, we've been here, what, 3 years? How many times we've seen this? Okay, and it's an inconsistency. We do have a policy in translation. We do. Okay, we have a city clerk who doing her due diligence, keep the clock. No one go past the 5 minute mark if they speak English. Okay, nobody go past the 10 minutes mark if they need to be translated. It's already established. Okay, and for the mayor jump up and keep repeating the same thing and hopefully it's right. It's not. You keep saying that the public is more than welcome to come here and speak, but right off the bat, he stopped Mr. Dow. This is not his first rodeo. He's been here in the past 3 years since I've been here. Very consistent. He's very vocal. There's nothing changed. And for us to introduce and walk in an agenda item just to allow him to speak is shameful. I apologize, Mr. Dow. I mean, this is shameful for this city council to go to that point. Member of the public, when they speak, our job is to listen and just listen, and that's it. I mean, if you go to other city, all the council members, they understand that, except this council for some reason. We think that we can, respond to the public comment that made by the member of the public, like, try to justify our action when they criticize it. Just be quiet and listen for a change and allow the people to speak and voice their concern. This is just 5 minutes, okay? We already have a policy. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I don't think we need to make a motion to allow Mr. Kaida to speak as a council. He have the right to come up and finish his speaking, and we need to move on with the agenda on the item.
So what's the policy if there's already a current policy? What is it? And if we do have a policy, why isn't it being followed?
Well, ask the mayor. Maybe it's in English.
I think the policy that the meeting is conducted by Brown Act, and in Brown Act, everyone speaking English, and the city provide a translator when a member of the community cannot speak in English. So that's why, that we provide. I welcome everyone. So I mean, like, if there is a motion, Mr. Dow more than welcome to speak 5 minutes in Vietnamese. But I mean, like, he should stick with Vietnamese in 5 minutes, and we go to translate.
Okay, well, let him do it.
Well,
I just, before you move on,
Don't
I
mind
just
that.
want to say, I'm very displeased with the city attorney tonight for first of all, taking side with the mayor. That's wrong. It's just really wrong. I'm just very disappointed. Very, very disappointed in your decision to put us, to take his side. And I know, I think the whole purpose of the mayor was to stop Mr. Dow from voicing his opinion, whatever his opinion is going to be, or, but I'm just very, very disappointed. So I think you could please, you don't have to take side with it's obvious that we've always let the general public decide what language they would like to speak. I've never, ever, so I disagree with the mayor when he said that if the public cannot speak English, it's not that. Okay, the practice up until now is whatever language they choose to speak. If they choose to speak Vietnamese, then we provide a translator, as we have provided a translator for everybody else. So if they choose to speak English, then no translation necessary. So it's not if they can How do you know if they can or not? Or is that the wrong word you want to use? I believe you used the wrong word because I really don't think we have tested them in the past ever to see if they can or they're capable or not. So I think the word you want to say is if they choose to speak in whatever language. If it happens to be Vietnamese, this council speaks English, the official language, the Brown Act. So therefore, we provide a translator, and we've been doing that for the last 2-3 years. And you're right that we don't have to, but we've chosen to. We've been providing it not just for Mr. Dow, but for everybody. Unless we can't find one, that hasn't been the case. We've been able to find one, and we've been providing a translator. So the word is not can. So how do you know if that person can or cannot? Do you test? I don't see a test. I don't see anybody taking tests. So you all of a sudden decide that you're going to, you're going to look at Mr. Dow and say, hey, you can speak English, so why don't you? How dare you? Not acceptable behavior.
So before we, I think this is just a
I
great
like-
time to move on, but
Councilmember Nguyen, so hold on a second.
okay.
Yes, before we move on, I just want to have a brief comment. I agree with Vice Mayor Menzo. We need to check back at the last meeting. I know that we ran over the time. Okay, right now you can say that no, but we can check back for that. Secondly, I want to make sure that this is not political, okay? You want to address the council, yes. But what you have done last time, you mix between English and Vietnamese. And then, look at this right here. You actually set it up, and then you tell us that you represent people. You represent people. You cannot. No. I'm
attacking a member of the public now?
City attorney, you need to put a stop to this because you're allowing him to put the guy on trial. Mr. Dow is not on trial here. That's wrong for you to allow this to happen.
Here in the United States, you know that, right?
You're putting him on trial. This is not allowed.
Okay, so
Yeah,
one council member
I
speak
stop
at a
here.
time.
I second your motion, the council member.
Who are you to censure the member of the public? What they can and cannot say?
I am not censoring. I am telling
That's
the
what you're
truth.
saying. You pointed
I
at
am
here.
telling the
All right.
truth.
That is not acceptable.
We have a
All right.
motion and a second. Can we
Then
vote on that?
Do it what
Okay.
you wanted to do to me.
All right.
I am telling
I
you
call the
truth.
question.
Right.
Okay, so
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, can you repeat your motion, please?
For the sole purpose, and like I said, this is completely out of hand and embarrassing at this point now, but just to get through today, and if there is a current policy, city attorney, why isn't it being followed? But for the purpose of today, you're suggesting that we make a motion for today. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had a motion.
Yeah.
Well,
but-
you know what?
No, I just want to make sure that that's what you're saying.
You know what?
Sole purpose of today, so that we can-
For us to take no action on this item, okay? It's shameful that we have to vote and allow a member.
Why
of
don't you
public
to make a substitute motion to no action then?
no action, and then did your turn to speak, Mr. Dow. I make a motion to no action on this item.
I second that.
Mr. City
You know what? I
Attorney,
withdraw my motion, Mr. Dell. I just please ask you if you can, like I said earlier, I understand your situation, but that's my situation. So please, if you can speak English, excuse me, if you can express yourself better in Vietnamese, please do so. And we have an English translator here for that.
Yes, I agree.
That's the way it should be. Thank you.
Please. Okay.
Ok, so lần trước khi mà tôi phát biểu thì có thể một số người nghĩ rằng là tôi bịa đặt câu chuyện để mà bôi nhọ thị trường trí tạch.
The last time I spoke, a lot of people might have thought that I made things up or to smear ngTha.
Tại vì họ nghĩ tôi có thù hận cá nhân hay là cái vấn đề chính trị gì đó mà không có lợi cho thị trường trí tạch.
That might have came about because they might have thought that I have some personal vendetta against ngTha, and I was trying to do something to harm him politically.
Khi tôi lên án ông ta đã sử dụng côn đồ để khủng bố và đàn áp những tiếng nói đối lập.
So when I spoke up to denounce him for using thugs to suppress the voice or opposing viewpoints or dissenting voice,
trong đó có cá nhân tôi đã từng bị băng nhóm của ông hành hung.
And that included myself, who has been assaulted by his group of people.
Trong lúc mà tôi bị hành hung thì ông nghị viên Chí Tạ, ông nghị viên Charlie Nguyễn Mạnh Trí và thị trưởng Chí Tạ đã hiện diện ở đó.
Mayor Tha and City Council member Charlie Chi Nguyen were there when I was being assaulted.
Mà họ không hề có một động thái gì để giải tán đám đông hung hãn hoặc là để bảo vệ tôi.
And they did nothing to disperse that crowd to protect me.
Nếu cần tôi có thể cung cấp cái video clip đó cho.
I can provide that video clip if necessary.
Kính thưa đồng hương, nhưng mà hôm nay tôi có thể khẳng định là những gì tôi nói về thị trưởng Chí Tạ là sự thật hoàn toàn 100%.
To my people, I can guarantee you that I can guarantee and prove to you that whatever I said here today, I can prove it with evidence by 100%.
Chúng tôi đã in cái bài phát biểu của tôi 50.000 số vào thứ Sáu.
I had printed my speech to the City Council and I printed 50,000 copies.
Và hôm sau vào thứ Bảy vào lúc 10 giờ đêm tôi đã nhận được một cú điện thoại.
And so the day after, well, that's Saturday evening, I received a phone call.
Và cái người đó nói rằng là tự xưng là Huỳnh Kiệt, hỏi tôi có phải Khải Đào không, cho anh ta địa chỉ.
So that person introduced himself as Kiệt Huynh, and he asked me to give him my address.
Anh ta nói anh ta sẽ tìm đến tôi, một là tôi chết, hai là anh ta chết.
He said he would look for me and it's going to be, well, either I would die or he would.
Anh ta gọi tôi là cộng sản vì đã dám yêu cầu thị trưởng Chí Tạ từ chức.
He called me a communist for asking Mayor Tar to resign.
Sau khi cúp điện thoại, nửa tiếng sau tôi lại thấy một cái text message khác.
So after I hung up that call, half an hour later, I received another text messages.
Trong cái text đó ghi như sau.
And that text read as follows.
Xin lỗi anh Chí.
I apologize to T.R.I.
Actually, that's the name of nghị viên Charlie Nguyễn Mạnh Trí.
So actually, that's the name of the council member Charlie Chi Nguyen.
Đây là Kiệt ở Đài Anh Chánh.
This is Kiệt, K-E-T, from Mr. Chánh, C-H-A-N-H channel.
Nửa tiếng vừa qua, một bọn bỏ báo đánh anh Tạ Đức Chí và nhóm anh Chí.
So half an hour earlier, a group of people distributing or delivering the newspaper had attacked,
beaten up, Tạ Đức Chí,
Trita,
và nhóm anh Chí.
and the people in his group.
Tôi hơi ngạc nhiên vì không hiểu chuyện gì.
I was surprised because I did not know what was going on.
Tôi cũng lo cho thị trưởng Tạ Đức Chí khi hay tin ông ta bị đánh.
And I was concerned for Mayor Tar when I heard that he was beaten up.
Sau khi xác minh thì chúng tôi khẳng định đây là fake news.
And so after verifying that, we determined that was fake news.
Mà xem lại kỹ thì đây là số phone đã gọi lại cho tôi trước đó, tự xưng là Huỳnh Kiệt, đe dọa tìm đến nhà để giết tôi.
So when I double checked that phone number, that was a same phone number of that person who had introduced himself as Kiệt Huynh, who had said that he would come and look for me to kill me.
Ngày hôm sau tôi không dám đi ra ngoài để bỏ báo, cho đến chiều mới dám lái xe đến box cảnh sát Westminster để báo cảnh sát.
So the next day I was so scared I did not go out and deliver the newspaper. I had to wait until late in the afternoon to drive to the police station to make a
Westminster,
report,
yeah.
the Westminster police station to make a report.
Chủ nhật, cảnh sát Westminster không mở cửa và họ bảo tôi liên lạc với cảnh sát nơi thành phố tôi đang cư ngụ.
So it was a Sunday, and so the police station was closed, and they told me that I need to contact my local police station to file that report.
Và tôi đã báo cáo với cảnh sát nơi tôi ở, hy vọng họ sẽ liên lạc với cảnh sát Westminster để điều tra làm rõ sự việc.
And I had reported that to the police where I resigned, and hopefully they will contact the Westminster Police Department to investigate this matter.
Sau khi suy nghĩ kỹ, tôi đã hiểu rõ vấn đề và lại càng lo sợ cho an toàn tính mạng.
After thinking all this over, I came to understand what this matter is, and so I became more concerned for my life.
Mà không những chỉ cho riêng cá nhân tôi mà còn tính mạng của những cộng tác viên sẽ phải cùng tôi phát hành 50.000 số báo này trong thời gian tới.
And that is not only for myself, but also for the people who help me, who are associated with me to distribute the next publication of 50,000 issues of this newspaper.
Vì không thể phản bác lại những luận điểm và chứng cứ do tôi đưa ra. Vì không thể phản bác những luận điểm và chứng cứ do tôi đưa ra khi yêu cầu Chí Tạ từ chức.
Due to the fact that he cannot defend or against
my argument,
the argument that I presented, so now
cũng như là không thể đóng đài chúng tôi như đã từng làm trước đây.
So now he's doing this just like because he could not shut down my newspaper like he had done to my channel previously, radio station previously.
Và tay chân bộ hạ của Chí Tạ đã tung tin đồn những người bỏ báo, tức là chúng tôi, đã đánh thị trưởng Chí Tạ.
And so Trita's latch key had accused me
tung cái tin đồn,
have
spread the
rumor that the people who deliver the newspaper attacked or assaulted Mayor Tar.
Đây là chiêu trò họ bịa đặt ra để tạo cớ kích động những fan cuồng tấn công chúng tôi.
This is their trick to raise up the people who supported them, so that the people who supported them would attack me.
Để trả thù cho Chí Tạ của họ, cũng như để biện hộ cho những hành vi khủng bố bạo lực đối với chúng tôi sau này.
To retaliate against me for Trita, and also to terrorize and to silence me so that I would not speak in the future or speak up in the future.
Tại sao Huỳnh Kiệt lại xin lỗi anh Chí? Tôi nghĩ Huỳnh Kiệt có liên quan đến nghị viên Charlie Nguyễn Mạnh Chí.
Why did Kiệt Huynh apologize to Chi? I think Kiệt Huynh is associated with Charlie Chi Nguyen.
Hy vọng sau này cảnh sát sẽ chứng minh là tôi nghi oan cho nghị viên Charlie Nguyễn Mạnh Chí.
I hope that the police would come to determine later on that I was fault in accusing Charlie Chi Nguyen.
Lần trước, cách đây lâu, Hội đồng thành phố đã lên án fake news.
Previously, not too long ago, the city council had denounced, have a resolution denouncing fake news.
Hai ông đã bỏ phiếu trắng.
The two of you have cast an absent ballot.
Tôi đang chờ xem hai ông sẽ ứng xử ra sao đối với những hành động côn đồ và phi dân chủ này khi mà họ đe dọa giết tôi.
The two of you have abstained, so now I'm going to wait and see what you are going to do with these undemocratic acts when these people threaten to kill me.
Yes. Nếu hai ông là trong sạch, không có liên quan gì đến băng đảng này.
If you are totally clean, if both of you are totally clean and you had nothing to do with these thugs,
thì hai ông phải công khai mạnh mẽ lên án những hành vi côn đồ của cái đám mà khủng bố, đe dọa giết những người đưa báo cũng như là đối lập như chúng tôi.
So the two of you need to speak up and denounce the people who threaten and terrorize the people who deliver the newspaper, like myself.
Nếu mà hai ông không có dung túng, không có ủng hộ những cái hành động, những cái lối hành xử mọi rợ côn đồ này, thì hai ông phải công khai lên án họ và phải có thái độ thích đáng.
So if you two do not condone these barbaric acts, then you two need to speak up and condemn these the act appropriately.
Và rõ ràng qua cái hành vi mà cấm không cho tôi trình bày là một lần nữa chứng minh là ông là luôn luôn tìm cách bịt miệng những người như tôi.
And so you can see through it, you know, from the fact that you're trying to silence me, it shows that you're trying to suppress or silence my voice.
Tức là tìm cách không cho mình nói hồi nãy.
By trying to not allow me to speak earlier.
Dạ vâng, xin cảm ơn quý vị đã lắng nghe Khải phải nói tiếng Việt để mặc dù trình bày với hội đồng thành phố nhưng mà Việt thì Khải nói được rõ ràng hơn. Xin cảm ơn quý vị đã lắng nghe.
And so on that, thanks for listening to me, for allowing me to speak in Vietnamese, because so that you can understand me and also that I can express myself better.
Và Khải cũng xin thành thật xin lỗi tất cả những cư dân không nói tiếng Việt. Xin cảm ơn.
And again, I apologize to all the residents who do not speak Vietnamese. And on that, thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Mayor, the next speaker is Deborah Mariscal. Please come forward.
Try to make it short. Thanks, Chief, for the call this week. Appreciate it. I get to do my second ride along. Yes. So we had the proclamation for the DMV. So I would also like to include, we are always short on blood. So if you can give to the American Red Cross, I'm O negative, I can give to premature babies, give blood. That's another way of giving life. With what we just went through right now, is it possible, I don't know, is it possible for us to put the timer up on the screen so we can see how long somebody has been speaking? Because I think we spent about 45 minutes on this last issue. So that would be a recommendation I would like to see if that's at all possible. And then about Measure SS. Nobody likes to see taxes go up, but we're paying the one tax right now anyway, the 1%. I'm not asking you to personally condone or support the tax. What I am asking you is to give the residents and the voters of the city of Westminster the opportunity to make our voices heard by being able to do that vote. I understand that a couple of you are running for other offices. You don't want to make it look like you're supporting tax increases, but look where we are as a city. We're not in a good place. I think it's been pretty clear by many of the residents who have spoken that we want to vote on it. So I'm asking you to do that. And the last thing is the monument. Put it on private property and let's be done with it. We've spent a lot of time over the last however many months that it is. Some people support it, some people don't. You as the council members need to be focusing on issues that are more important to the city's survival and to the residents, all of us, of the city. That's all I have. Thank you.
The next speaker will be Terry Raines, and she has submitted an item that she wishes the council to have as she begins to speak. I understand that that's something that this council has done before.
I'm sorry, what was the question again? What was the comment again? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Good evening, Terry, lost my voice, Raines. I'm providing you a copy of all of my comments because my voice is not good and I probably wouldn't get through at my normal speed of 5 minutes. But I am asking you to pull several consent calendar items that are on there that I'm not going to be able to verbally speak, but I hope you, I'd hoped this would get to you before the meeting started, but it didn't. Anyway, I'm going to speak on a couple items up here. Item 3.6, the violent crime stats are very troubling. Robbery up 77% and aggravated assault up 68%. But 4 council members don't seem to give a damn about our police department staffing. They are hell-bent on defunding our police by refusing to let us vote on whether or not to extend the 1% local tax measure. Mayor Ta and Councilwoman Ho's assembly campaigns tout them as pro-law enforcement and against defunding the police. Yeah, right, hypocrites. Regarding item 7.2, the Quan Chi Monument Committee is responsible for this delay. They have had 6 months to meet and finalize the design. They presented architectural plans that were never seen by or approved by the whole committee publicly. They rescheduled meetings from April 4th to the 11th, to the 25th, to May 9th, all because one member had issues. Since when do we cancel meetings when one member of an 11-member committee cannot attend? First, Vice Chair Hong's computer had a virus. Then, sadly, one of his family members passed away. And staff was told that he would be in Vietnam for the arrangements, missing the meeting on the 11th. But guess what? He was right here in Westminster planning and attending their fundraiser, which was on the 10th, the night of the 10th, the night before the meeting was scheduled. Now they need more time to get proper translation of the narrative, but they've had 4 months to do that. A secret majority meeting was likely held on the 20th per an email from another member saying that he could not attend that meeting. Emails continue between a majority of members discussing official city business. I have reported this repeatedly to all of the city staff. Brand Act violations, exclusion, lack of transparency, and secrecy abound with this group. Council, it is time you take the city out of this mess and direct them to complete this project as a private foundation on private land. Enough is enough. The recent LA Times article put this council's dirty laundry and my horrible picture out there for all to see. Prominent people from all over this county are asking me, what the F is wrong with your city council? My reply, everything. And I meant it. You have become the laughing stock of the county and a true embarrassment to all of us, especially our beloved Vietnamese refugee community, who are the ones that put at least 4 of you into office. So I'm going to say, vote no to Trita or Kimberly Ho for assembly. Vote yes on Measure C to eliminate the elected mayor and go to a rotational mayor. And let us vote on the tax measure. Let us vote. Let us vote. Let us vote.
The next speaker is Roger Mindrum. Please come forward.
All right, good evening, Roger Mindrum, resident of Westminster. Well, that big delay kind of threw a loop in my comprehension here, so hopefully I'll be coherent here. First, I'd like to just say that I'm speaking to the council here, but I just want to tell the council that I really appreciate my fellow residents here tonight and those of us who continue to be here and speak our voices. Appreciate Mr. Dow always coming up here and facing the backlash that he does. Apparently there is some backlash to Vietnamese people who speak out against each other. So I do appreciate him. Mr. Harrison and Mr. Gomez, thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for your perseverance and continued support and for your community. So I really appreciate you too. City staff, the last meeting Mr. Ozeda and Mr. Radke did a great presentation. You project professionalism and your dedication to what you do, and it shows. Anybody goes and rewatches the or watches these meetings or rewatch on YouTube, shows your professionalism. So I appreciate you guys and all the city staff. And towards the agenda items, I'll agree with everyone who spoke regarding the Quantree Monument. I believe, as those others have spoken, that it belongs on private land. It's a private issue. A very small percentage of the population in the city want it, care about it, will want or care about it in the next 50 years, that's going to be subjected to a city park. Put it on private land, really. The next subject that nobody really spoke about yet tonight was the 6.2 request for ordinance making it illegal to possess an uninstalled catalytic converter without proof of ownership. I think the intentions are good. I've heard Huntington Beach has passed some kind of an ordinance. Maybe Mr. Bettenhausen can elaborate, or maybe even Chief Lanier. But what is the difference between an ordinance and a law? If this ordinance doesn't go on the penal code, what's the enforcement? Put yourself in the position, and I'm sure Mr. Councilman Doe, you obviously in this position to do a traffic stop with, you do a traffic stop for whatever reason, and you see a catalytic converter in the trunk of a pickup, or a bunch of them, which they're going to have sawzalls and tools and things like that, a jack probably. But those of you who are not in law enforcement, who are going to be discussing this, I don't see the point when there's already a law for theft. So maybe you can explain to them on a traffic stop what's going to happen. Or if you're going to pass something, be more specific, because if it was just this wording that says uninstalled catalytic converter, you need to specify that it was already been installed on a vehicle. Because what they do is you have a catalytic converter and there's a flange on each end which bolts onto another pipe, whether it comes off the engine exhaust manifold or beyond to a pipe that goes out the back of the car, and they go in and they just cut them off on each end or wherever they can. They don't unbolt it, so nothing's clean. But if you're going to do something like that, be specific, but maybe please explain to everyone how this ordinance supersedes law. Is this ordinance a misdemeanor or a felony? I think it's good intention, making a point, or is it somehow law? How is a city ordinance enforceable law? Because that's going to lead to an arrest and a charge, and the district attorney and a court case charging that person for what have you. They're over $950, so it's more than a misdemeanor already. So anyways, it's been another eventful meeting. I've told people in the past that the city, there's no other city like this in this country. I've been more and more convinced at this in the last couple of years. In every single meeting, it seems like it's more and more. The voting block of the city is one thing, but what happens in this room, nothing else like it. So have a good night.
Is there anyone currently here that would like to speak? Not seeing anyone here. Mayor, we do have someone with their hand raised. Amy Walsh. I will unmute you and you may begin speaking.
Thank you. So being a Zoom speaker, I get to hear everyone else's comments, and a lot of people have already said things that I had written down. So on that note, I'd like to say that I agree, first off, with Camilla, who was speaking in regards to CityNet. After this last meeting that we had, I truly hope that CityNet has decided to show up and grace us with their presence tonight. And I really hope that the council holds them to task Let's see. Well, one thing right off the bat is like I said a little earlier, I am just thoroughly disgusted with how, public comments were stopped because HΔTP wants to talk about the fact that someone has or can speak English. I mean, it was ridiculous that he even started with that. And then at the end of that, I would say it was at least 30 minutes because I was kind of watching. Then he says, well, yes, I want everybody to be able to speak. And it's like, well, why did you even say anything in the first place then? Why not wait and put it on an agenda for the next time? It was just a grandstanding issue. Like, that's all it was. And he clearly, after hearing what Kai Dowd was speaking, did not want him to talk about any of that. And it's stupid and ridiculous. In regards to the Brown Act, I wanted to read a quick little blurb where the Brown Act authorizes legislative bodies to adopt reasonable regulations on public participation. The authority includes adopting regulations on public testimony. Such regulations must be enforced fairly and without regard to the viewpoint of the speaker. And I wanted to make sure that some council members heard that. Fairly and without regard to the viewpoint of the speaker. You cannot assume that someone is going to stand up and know what they're going to say. Or if you know that that person is a critic of yours, you are not allowed to then try to make it so that they cannot speak. And I'm sure that you, Mr. Ta and Mr. Nguyen, after I speak, will probably make some comment about, let me say this, like, you know what? You don't need to respond to every single public comments. The other thing that I would like to say is I really, really think that while these meetings are now back in person, if we can make sure the council members don't fall asleep at the dais, that would be great when people are talking, because again, that's rude and disrespectful to the public. And one last thing that I have been meaning to say is the people that are running the cameras for these meetings, tonight alone, we have dealt with the council members not letting us vote for taxes for the city. We've dealt with council members that don't want certain people to speak. And now, well, not now, let's be honest, this has been going on from pre-COVID. We have the people that are doing the cameras trying to move the camera view so that we don't see the signs that are in the audience. And I think that is just ridiculous. Talk about that. Those are free speech. There's nothing saying that you can't have signs. And if now people are going to try to make it so that the rest of the public can't see those signs, I think that's an issue as well. And this has frustrated me since even pre-COVID. And I'm watching it happen tonight. And it just infuriates me. This council over the last few years has just made it so clear that they could care less what the public actually says. And every meeting, no joke, every meeting.
Time's up.
I'm sorry, every meeting, it just gets worse, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry.
Mayor, there are no more members raising their hand on Zoom, and that concludes oral communications.
All right, so we don't have any other
No, Mayor,
speaker. All
there are
right,
no
so I'd
others.
like to close oral communication. Next, we have consent calendar.
Ai xui miệt ấy ghé về thăm, bún cá phở quyên vẫn mãi thèm. Hầm rục xương cá ngọt liệm, chả cá vàng tươi ngon giòn, nước lèo bốc khói thơm ngát, tương hành chanh ớt chị mời em ăn tô bún cá chứa chan tình người.
Xin mời quý vị đến với phở quyên, ăn một lần lại muốn ăn thêm. Phở quyên 714 896 0928 896 0928.